Yo, what's going on, guys? In today's video, we're going to be using the strongest giant deck in Clash Royale. Alright, hopping in the first match here, we're going to be up against this guy. And guys, I decided to try this deck because recently Giant did get the really nice buff, and both of the princes actually got a pretty interesting change. Now they can actually jump over the river when they're placed like next to the river somewhere, which is actually kind of useful sometimes. Even though they did get a small HP nerf in return, they did also get that ability, which is kind of nice to like snipe high Teslas or something like that. So it can have some uses, I feel like, and kind of just like a funny concept. Alright, so it looks like we're going to be up against RG here in the first match, which is going to be interesting. I think it should be a decent matchup depending on what other cards he has. He does have Hunter though, which kind of wrecks our Giant, but looks like the Dark Prince will get a couple of shots off, so it's not too bad. I did go in with the RG first. I did go in with the Giant first play, but I feel like pretty much every Giant player does that, so even though it seems a bit crazy, it do be like that when you're a Giant player, so yeah. Alright, so this guy's actually going to have Skelly King as well, and he is going to use the Skelly King ability there, but kind of not the best ability by him, because he didn't have like any charge on the ability by his Skelly King. We do have to kind of watch out for his Skeleton King, though. It's probably going to be really dangerous for us, even more dangerous than the actual RG, because we don't really have any good way to counter it besides like a Dark Prince. But unless you have like a Valkyrie, it's usually pretty hard to stop the Skeleton King, because even when you have a Dark Prince, even though it has some splash, the ability will still kind of wreck it, because it doesn't have like a 360 splash, so it's not going to be quite enough, unless we like zap with it at least or something. But yeah, we can't really like always save our zap for the Skelly King ability, because we also do have to use it on Skarmy a lot of the time. And alright, so we actually went with the minor fireball there on his Hunter, kind of just like wanted to take it off the board really quickly. Like the one major weakness of Hunter is that it has like really low HP, so you can easily just like fireball zap it away or something. So we just did that here, and gonna go in with another Giant here because he wasted like a lot of his defensive units, so I think we should be able to hopefully take most of his tower here. And he is gonna go with a really awkward Fisherman there, not really sure why he did that. Also gonna give us a lot of fireball value. We didn't have zap ready right away for his Skarmy, but I think we should be pretty fine here. And his Fisherman actually going to pull the Prince to the tower, and it is going to allow us to get one shot, so his tower is almost in spell cycle range, but it looks like he's just going to let the Miner go, so it actually will just die to the Miner. Alright, so we are in a 1-to-1 situation now. He is going to have the Skelly King at the bridge, which we do have to be a little bit careful of. And somehow the Fisherman actually pulled that. But luckily we do get an E-Wiz off on the Skeleton King, and when you have like an E-Wiz stunning a champion, it usually doesn't let them use the ability unless they're like super fast on using it, so yeah. And we do get a really good fireball there. He goes with the Hunter right next to the Zappy, so really good for us here. Hunter did actually get buffed, but I feel like its attack speed is still super slow to me. Like maybe the first attack is a bit better, but it still feels like if you snowball it, it'll just take like a year to get its first shot, so that's going to be game here against RG. Alright, hopping in the second match here, we're going to be up against this guy. Don't really know how to pronounce his name anyways, so yeah. We do have Giant in our starting hand once again. It's definitely okay to go with the Giant first play, so I'm just going to go with it here. Maybe a little bit unsafe sometimes, but I feel like I always see Kamikaze doing it, who is like one of the best Giant Double Prince players, so it's not really too risky to go with Giant first play, because unlike a Golem or something, you still have like a ton of Elixir to defend if they decide to pressure you. You still have like at least 5 Elixir right away to defend, so you won't really get punished too much for it unless they have like a P.E.K.K.A. It could be a little bit risky. But nowadays, even if you just like Giant into a P.E.K.K.A., if you just get like a Mega Minion or like a Prince behind it, it should kill it pretty easily still, so not too much to worry about. And Giant Double Prince is actually a lot better against P.E.K.K.A. now, ever since the change to Bandit has happened. That's why this deck is actually pretty good right now, at least in certain trophy ranges. It's really good, because like those Bandit bridge spam decks could be a little bit difficult sometimes before, like especially the P.E.K.K.A. ones, but now that you have like the fact that like the Bandit is glitched for going towards your I don't know, like going in your favor is what I kind of wanted to say. Like that really helps you a lot and kind of gives you more of a chance in these matchups. And also this guy's probably going to be using MK Ram Rider here, which is also a really good matchup. You do have to watch out a little bit, but he doesn't really have any good way to kill our princes, so that's why it's really good for us. And it is one of the most popular decks in the game right now, so Giant Double Prince is bound to at least be like a decent deck. But it looks like in these last couple matches we haven't really had much of a chance to like use the new Prince ability, but honestly the Princes fly really well now. They're almost as good at flying as the Hog Rider, so kind of just a nice little thing to have, even though the HP nerf does affect them a little bit. I feel like Princes should be fairly balanced right now. Prince might be like a little bit weaker, but I think Dark Prince is still solid for most of the decks, like especially when you have like a Golem Lightning deck and you use the Dark Prince, or like whatever. If you use the normal Prince as well, it could also work, but most of the Golem decks have Dark Prince. Like if you use a Golem and then they go with like a high Tesla to avoid your lightning, you can just have like a Dark Prince on it and it's going to be really good for you. Going to allow you to kill the Tesla really easily, and they can't really distract it since it's going to be so high up to avoid that lightning. So yeah. Alright, so his queen is getting a lot of value here. That's the only thing that's kind of saving him, is the archer queen, because we don't really have like a lightning or something to finish it off. We don't really have arrows either, so this game is going to go a little bit slower, but as you can see, we're in a pretty firm lead here, kind of just like stacking push after push, and yeah, pretty good offense as well, just like cycling a few princes, and we're not really ever getting any count. I mean, he's not really ever getting any counter push on us, so that's what's really nice about this here. Alright, I'm gonna fireball the Inferno Dragon. Probably won't hit the queen, kind of unfortunately, but should be okay here. And Prince almost gonna finish him off, but if we get like one more miner and maybe like a fireball, we should be able to finish him off here, but it is gonna be a little bit close. He's gonna try to get it off with the Ram Rider, but we do just need one fireball at this point, so yeah, if you guys hate MK, just use this deck. Really good against it. Alright, hopping in the third match here, we're gonna have Giant in our starting hand once again here, so probably gonna go with it here in a little bit, but I might just like wait a second to see what he's gonna do. And he's not gonna make the first play, so I'm just gonna go with the Giant in the back. Like before going Giant first play, I'd probably wait a few seconds if I were you guys, but if they don't make any other play, it's usually pretty okay to go with it. And yeah, like I was saying, I do see like a lot of the top Giant players going with Giant first play, but it might also be that they just know their opponent's deck, so I guess it could be maybe not quite as good of a play as I'm saying, but I feel like it definitely is pretty okay most of the time at least. And he's actually going to have recruits here. We're actually going to take like almost his entire tower just off of our first push. And that's kind of why you want to go with Giant first play, because normally recruits is actually a really difficult matchup, or at least somewhat difficult, I think, just because the recruits are really good against the princes, and you don't have like too much to stop the royal hogs that he's probably gonna have here, but just by kind of starting handing him, we got his entire tower, and it's probably gonna be pretty hard for him to come back, even though he has like really good defense. He doesn't have the greatest offense against us, because we do have like Dark Prince, and we do have Fireball, so we do have a couple responses to his stuff, and Mega Minion also really good at sniping high flying machines down from the air, so should be pretty hard for him. But he's also gonna have Giant. I mean, no, we're gonna Giant here, but I mean, I kind of got my words mixed up there, but he's gonna have a Goblin Cage and a Fisherman, but I don't know if it'll even be enough, because yeah, I don't know. I guess he just got unlucky, but it's probably not gonna be enough for him to really do anything here, because he has the Fisherman there, but it's just gonna give him really good defense, but now he's not really going to have any good offense since he has so many defensive cards. He probably subbed out like a E-Spirit or something for the Fisherman, but what that's going to do is it's going to make his cycle a lot slower, so he's not really going to be able to break through as easily or like cycle as many of his offensive cards, which is kind of going to hurt him here. Alright, so we have pretty good defense. You're just going to Fireball the Flying Machine in case he tries to support it with anything. And yeah, it is a little bit awkward for me to play this deck, to be honest, because I'm used to being like a a quick cycle player, so I was like playing my cards really quickly and fast. But I feel like with this deck, it's a lot better to be a little bit more patient with your cards. It is double elixir now though, so we're kind of just like spending our stuff right away, but in general it is better to be a little bit slower with your cards. I'm probably gonna go with Royal Hogs here in a second, but I think we should be able to just barely defend with like a zap and maybe like a late E-Wiz here in a bit. Okay, Royal Hogs actually do so much damage here, so gonna actually be really close, but that's gonna be GG. Alright, hopping in the next match here, we're gonna have Giant in our starting hand once again. For some reason, we literally have Giant in our starting hand every single game, which is kind of nice, so we can just starting hand everybody. And yeah, Princes are just so good right now that even when you get like, I mean, even if you like go in with a Giant first play and they have like a good counter to it, it still almost always does like not really provide them too much counter push just because of how much damage the Princes do. So yeah. So he's gonna have Mega Minion here. He's gonna have Tombstone and Skelly King as well. So could be like a graveyard deck, but okay. So he's gonna have Flying Machine here. So it's probably actually gonna be Lava Hound, which is gonna be a little bit interesting. As I was saying before, Skeleton King is a little bit annoying for this Giant deck. Like I feel like Mortar's Skeleton King is one of the hardest matchups, but might not be as hard in Lava since he doesn't have like a Skarmy or something to feed the ability. He has actually missed the Tombstone there. I guess he was expecting that my Giant would go really far like an E-Giant would, but kind of just wasted his Tombstone right there. And our Giant gonna get a couple shots off, but Mega Minion does clean up pretty okay for him. But since he wasted his Tombstone, I'm gonna go in with a Prince here, because he won't really have too much to counter it. He does have the Skelly King, but I'm actually gonna Miner backwards here, hoping to like pull the Skelly King and its units backwards. And yeah, actually worked out super well for us. We went with like the Miner in that kind of awkward spot, like right into the Skelly King, just so that it would stay back and our Prince would connect on his tower, because I knew he didn't have any other ground responses except like a Miner or something, which he probably wouldn't be able to react quickly enough with. So yeah, really good play by us here. Even though he does have like decent responses to most of our stuff just because of how OP the Tombstone is, he doesn't really have enough for everything. Like he has mostly enough counters, but like if we get him in a bit of an awkward cycle like that, we can just really easily beat him. Alright, and honestly defense shouldn't be too hard. He doesn't really have like a super good way to break through since we have like Fireball for his stuff, so he's probably gonna just try to like slowly chip us out with like Miners and stuff, but I'm not really sure if that's even possible for him at this point in the game. And I'm actually gonna go ahead and Miner his Tombstone. It seems a bit awkward, but Tombstone is just so OP that probably worth it to do that. And Dark Prince is going to jump across the river to finish off the skeletons. And he is going to defend the Giant really well with all those comped up units, but it shouldn't even matter too much. I didn't really like expect the Giant to do too much on offense. I kind of just wanted it just to like block the lane up and not allow him to make a super big push. And he is going to block the Prince with the Tombstone. We're just going to reset the tower there on the Miner, and yeah, pretty easy win here. Really good win so far with this. Alright, hopping in the final match here. I actually am a little bit late to the recording. Actually, accidentally didn't hit the recording button right away, but you guys didn't really miss anything. Just a E-Wiz and a zap on his tower was all that happened. Alright, well at least hopefully this should be our final win if we end up winning this match, but I'm gonna have to wait and see what we can do here. So probably gonna be some type of bridge spam deck, and seeing the Heal Spirit, it probably will be the E-Barbs version, which is gonna be a little bit tricky. Well, I haven't really like played this matchup before, but I know that E-Barbs are pretty hard for Giant Double Prince to kill, I feel like. And his Battle Ram is gonna connect also, and the damage buff that it got like a while ago is kind of hurting us a little bit, but not really too worried. At least we didn't take much Barbarian damage. And yeah, the Bandit change should also help us in this matchup, because in the future, if he goes with like a Bandit on either one of our Princes, it won't do as well. He is going to go with E-Barbs at the river along with the Heal Spirit, but okay, we actually got super lucky there. Somehow the Dark Prince managed to splash the Heal Spirit before it jumped, so that actually probably saved like half of our Giant, because I think that those E-Barbs would have killed most of our Giant if it weren't for that Dark Prince splashing really nicely. And he's gonna go with the queen here, but we are gonna have a mega minion and a miner chipping on his tower. We're actually gonna zap here. A really good play is to go with like a zap when you have a miner on the back of their tower and your giant is almost dead. Because what that does is that it will make the tower target on the miner instead. And even though you might think you want your miner to stay alive, it's actually better for the miner to just tank for this stuff. Because what that'll do is it'll allow the giant to get way more damage. Because like the miner has a ton of reduced damage towards crown towers, so it really does help you when you make that play. Alright, so you're gonna fireball. You're gonna kind of just trying to cycle a couple of fireballs to finish him off here, but he's gonna spam us kind of relentlessly, so getting a little bit close here. Luckily the prince does actually target the barbarian there though, so yeah, we did just manage to barely finish off his stuff. We do have an E-Wiz here, just gonna fireball this magic archer. Don't really want to play any games, even though I know I could probably defend without it. And yeah, this deck doesn't have the fastest of cycles, so you do have to be a bit careful as well. And yeah, so probably gonna be game here in a second. Actually feels like princes are still really good as they kind of always were, even though with the changes they still feel really strong. So thank you guys for watching and see you in the next one. Bye!